Every once in a while, she scolds me. She's like, Nate, you can't say that on the podcast. I'm like,
To
oh,
be,
sorry.
to be fair, in 115 episodes, I have only had to bleep out 3 swear words.
I'll
tell you what,
impressive.
You better get your bleep button ready now, Sheila, because it's going to be off the chain today.
No. Let's keep that to a minimum.
Oh, redo your hair. Yes.
I need to do my hair.
Definitely. You definitely need to do your hair, Ryan. Run a brush through that mane of yours.
This is the Messy Backend, where experts share customized business advice and tips about all the messy stuff that goes on behind the beautifully branded front end of entrepreneurship. This is where most businesses fail, so we're here to help you save time, make money, and succeed.
Welcome. Thank you all so much. We have a wonderful show for you today. If we are observant, we will see what differentiates companies that are successful from those that ultimately fall flat. And with any luck, we can spot those lessons before making the same blunders ourselves. And while in life, occasionally it's best to let others make their own mistakes so they can learn from them, there's no reason not to share business wisdom with those who are coming up behind us. In an article on Forbes.com, Mary Houghton once said, "Part of living and working in the startup world is learning from mistakes, both your own and others."
On our expert segment today, we're going to be speaking with Ryan Walker. Ryan is the host of the Walk the Line podcast, of which I was a guest last year, where I had a blast chatting with Ryan. The Walk the Line podcast is a long-form conversation with friends and guests that includes entrepreneurs, actors, musicians, authors, artists, and beyond. Ryan also has run his own recruiting business for the past 7 years.
And you'll hear real questions and stories from real entrepreneurs with real messy backends. As an added bonus for the Messy Backend Exposed, our expert Ryan will not only share his experience, expertise, and the tools he suggests to get your backend cleaned up, but he will also expose how to have fun while building your business.
What a great episode this one is. If you're an entrepreneur with a messy backend and you would like to submit your story or question, give us a call at 801-810-6726 or visit us at themessybackend.com. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of The Messy Backend, brought to you by our digital marketing agency, Lock and Load Marketing, where if it tires you out, you can hire it out. We wanted to take a minute and stop and thank you for being such great listeners.
Seriously, we can't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening and supporting us these last 2 years. We've loved sharing our expert guests, our stories, our experiences, our embarrassing, messy backend bloopers with you. We've just loved everything about this podcast. And if you love the show as much as we do, we want to hear from you. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or email us at hello@themessybackend.com. Who knows? Soon we may just have cool branded swag to give out to our top fans.
That's going to be super cool. And don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. You can find all of those links at themessybackend.com/subscribe. So never miss an episode because they're pretty fun. Then check us out on Facebook and YouTube for video episodes. Now on to our expert, Ryan Walker, for his expert advice. Don't mess your seat, folks. Here we go.
So today we have one of our favorite messy backend questions submitted by one of our listeners. They said, "I have been thinking about starting my own business for some time, but I know it takes a lot of work. I think I am finally ready to jump in with both feet. What do I need to know before starting my own company?" Ryan, what do you say here to that? What would you say?
Do you know, there's so many things when I started doing my business as well, that it does get overwhelming, and it does become such like, where do I start? What do I do? How do I do this? And the worst thing that I've noticed that so many people throw so much information at you all at once. And there's people going, you need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. But the fundamental thing is just really kind of take your time and plan it. Take your time on where you want to be, how you want to do it, and how you're going to get there. You know, what sort of business are you actually creating? sitting down and have a plan. Is it going to be like an online business? Is it going to be just a bricks and mortar sort of business? Then figure out and go from there. One of the main things that I really struggled with is for my business, it's into recruitment. So it was mostly into like kind of more salesy. I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. That is it. That's my main like kind of objective sort of thing. I am not an accountant. I am not an admin person. I am not a marketer, anything like that. So getting to grips with that very quickly was a bit of a struggle. So you have to be prepared to, if you double down on your strengths. And one of the things I did as well was not realizing that was my strength and outsourcing the rest of the things that I wasn't good at, that I could actually, if you've got the funding there, but you've got different websites like, I know, a Fiverr and Upwork that you can actually do that with. And you can actually use outsourcing to do your accountancy or to do your marketing, do your admin stuff like that, to kind of really hone in. There's so many different platforms and websites and help out there that people don't realize and don't know. Do the research, have a look, spend some time and do the business. And once you do that, it takes a little bit of time to get it set up. But once you do it, it makes your life so much easier. And it took me a long time to realize that, to be fair. It was horrible.
I think the best advice someone could have given me is just like what you said at the very beginning, make a plan. Because I get all of these really big ideas and I get way too many big ideas. So if I had stopped and looked at the end of the day, what do I want my business to look like in 5 years? And I realized that I was overcomplicating it and really just water it down, because you just get to the point where you've got 4,000 things on your to-do list and you can't get anything done. And then, like you said, it's like a fire hose of information because you can get so much information. And on one of our episodes with Steve Dotto, as one of the really early episodes, that one of the things that he said is just stop listening to what everybody says and find what works for you and use what you have. You know what I mean? It's like you said, don't spend thousands of dollars. Don't go out there trying to do every single thing, but try and, do what works for you in your business.
Yeah, take your time and do it. There's nothing. It's a marathon, not a sprint. A lot of people are a lot too short-sighted when it comes to stuff like that. When they start off stuff and they're only concentrating on months. But you have to really kind of concentrate on years if you want. You want to have that longevity. You don't want to be sitting there thinking about 2 months down the line. You want to be sitting thinking about a year down the line. Can I sustain this in a year? If I can't, how am I going to switch it up? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to do it? Do I need to learn stuff? Am I not good at stuff? Invest in yourself. That's the main thing. Invest in yourself.
Yeah, and work backwards from that.
Yeah. Reverse engineering. I love that phrase. It took me a long time to realize what reverse engineering actually meant. You listen to all these like Gary V's and reverse engineer what you need to do. And I'm going, what's he talking about? How do you reverse engineer something? I don't know. But eventually I found out what that means.
Well, reverse engineering food is harder than reverse engineering a business. That's the one that I can get confused. I like, eat this and then figure out how they made it. No, it's much easier to look at a business and figure out how you want to do it. Is like, what do you want to be doing on a daily basis?
Yeah.
And then determine, okay, if you have this business, what is it going to require of you? And on another thing to consider, I think too, is what are you going to sell it? Because a lot of people, like this happened to me. I don't know if it's happening to Nate. I kind of have a feeling it is. We are the main thing of our business. It's not sellable. It's not multipliable. What's the word I'm looking for, Nate?
Scalable.
Scalable. It's
Scalable.
Not scalable. Yeah. So
I like multipliable better though.
Maybe people understand that better. It's like, look at that movie Duplicity. Have you ever seen that movie Duplicity where Michael Keaton duplicates himself, and with every duplication he gets dumber and dumber and dumber. And I'm always afraid that that's what's going to happen. And I'm great at teaching people to delegate. I'm terrible at actually doing it.
That's the thing as well. You're gonna have to really put in the work as well. There's a lot of people out there starting businesses up, and they've not got it planned out. They just think they're going to be like a millionaire within a year. They've got this idea. And to be quite honest with you, I am not ashamed to say I was one of those back in 2015 when I started my first one. I honestly thought within a year, and I was telling everyone, I'm going to be a millionaire in a year. It's going to be great. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to build my own house because I can. I'm going to buy a car. It's going to be amazing. a year down the line, it wasn't like that at all. I was struggling, because I thought I was expecting everything to come to me. I thought I was very arrogant and very kind of naive of all business and what it's all about, expecting everything to come to me without putting the minimal amount of work into it, because I thought my way was the best thing in the world. Obviously, that didn't work out, and a bit of a realization, a bit of a wake-up call very quickly to understand that's not how the world works, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic too, because I feel like a lot of times we have these big goals and we say, okay, yeah, we're going to be a millionaire in a year or whatever, but we don't actually look at the roadmap. Like, we called it reverse engineering, but it really is a roadmap that we have to go and look at and say, okay, just like what Sheila was saying, like, if we want to say, okay, 5 years from now, I want to be able to be running my business, sitting on a beach or at my kids' soccer games or wherever those goals are that you have. The whole reason is starting that entrepreneurship, starting that business. Like, Ryan, your goal was, I want to be able to build my own house. Like, really, that was a goal that you get as a result of, hard work and building this business. But I feel like a lot of times we overlook the steps of, well, what would that really take to get there? It's not just, oh, I need to make, 10,000 sales or whatever it might be. Like you said, you're a people person and, oh, let me just keep on selling and it's going to work. But there's a lot more to that with a business. So we need to reverse engineer that, to use that term.
And what are you doing on the beach? I've heard that so many times, right? Like, I'm just going to do my business from the beach. Well, I started out as a virtual assistant, moved into digital marketing, moved into flipping businesses. And whenever I would look at that and hear someone say, what are you, I'm going to run my business from a beach. Certainly I could run my business from a beach, but what I did not anticipate was that I would still be building the sales funnels and reviewing the books and, all of the things. So look and see, like, there's that book, right? 4-Hour Workweek, which 4-Hour Workweek is really kind of, if you're the owner of a business, is not really logical. It's not possible. But what it is 4 hours a week, you're getting other people to do all the work and then you're supervising them. Right. So I don't know.
I mean, I've tried to work like that as well. You can work remotely. I mean, most businesses you can work remotely, but it's pretty hard. You can't work from 100.
Proof in the pudding, 2020. Everybody.
Right.
Well, that's it. Yeah, but there's obviously you're going to have to use it. You can't just work straight away like that. There's other stuff involved in it as well in the background. You can't just work like from a beach. I'd love to work from a beach. Obviously, I won't be able to stay there for long because of my crazy Scottish complexion. The sun is my worst enemy. But it is that nowadays the technology is there, depending on what business you can. But it's not going to be 100%. You're going to have a really good, as you say, a good back end, if that makes sense, to keep that moving and keep that going, sort of thing. So it's a bit of a funny one, really, to be fair.
Yeah. Tell us, Ryan, about your podcast and maybe some of the cool back end stories that you've heard about people who have run their business and like cool, fun things that have happened. I know when you and I did the recording on your podcast, you were getting ready for your birthday party in the backyard and your daughter was doing all these fun things. And so we meet a lot of really fun people doing podcasting, but tell us some of your cool back end stories.
Cool what the guests I've had on, just sort of thing. I've had I tell you what, I've had a few of them. I've had, because I obviously, when you do the podcast, and that was another thing, I am so bad at administration and organization, and it's shocking that I'm an ex-military man and I am that bad at it. It's ridiculous. I'm an ex-Air Force guy for 7 years, and I just, my missus right now is literally, she is like my PA sort of thing. She tells me who's actually on my show the next week. It's ridiculous. And but I'm really bad at it. So what I try and do is like kind of do a little bit of an intro call. I mean, we did it with yourself. She'll be going for a little 5-10 minute call and to get a good idea of it. And I've had some crazy stories about some crazy people talking about I think someone came through in a conspiracy theory and all that sort of stuff. She came on and she was saying, don't get the COVID jab. I'm like, why is that? Because they're going to mind control you. And I'm like, oh God, we've got one here now. And I wanted to speak to her because she was an ex-forces. She was from Florida. She has it all really, guys. And she was like, oh yeah, they're mind controlling you. And this is only supposed to be a 5-10 minute chat. An hour and a half later, I am still on this call with this girl who's going through the ins and outs of how the government is mind controlling everyone through everything. And I'm like, I literally wanted to bang my head against the brick wall. It was horrendous. And it was horrible, horrible.
This is when you say something like, so sister, you need to stop talking because they're listening right now. We better cut this off right now.
Yeah, no, yeah, you need to stop eating paint. I think that's what you need to stop doing. You've been in the loony farm, I tell you. God, that was crazy. It's crazy.
My response to anyone that's like, well, there's mind control, in things like vaccines, I go, anytime you open up a newspaper or turn on the TV or turn on the radio, they're mind controlling you. Advertisements, marketing, the news, everything is a form of mind control. They're telling us what to think and what to buy and what to believe and what to talk to our neighbor about. Do you really think they need to go an extra level and inject something into our arms to do that? No, that's not me at all. And I mean, this isn't a conspiracy theory podcast, so we're not going to dive into that. But no, it's
a rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
No, not at all. So. But no, people are great. But
yeah, it's the biggest thing from my show was really getting to grips with the administration side of things, organization. I mean, you guys have got. I'm taking some tips from how you guys do it because your admin side of stuff is on point, and I'm like, I am nicking that. So there you go. I'm having some of that. So whoever's going to come on my show next, you're gonna have like invites coming over. You're gonna have reminders every 10 minutes just to make sure you're going to get there in time. And if you're late,
got you fooled.
Yeah. Hey, that's all Sheila, though, by the way. Just FYI,
is that why Sheila's got a massive grin on her face going, yes.
Yeah. Well, she's got imposter syndrome right now. She thinks that she's not organized and that she doesn't have this all under control, but she's got it way more than you and I, Ryan. She told me years ago when we started this podcast, she said, Nate, let's start a podcast together. I said, I know nothing about podcasting, nothing. I've never even listened. And this is true to this day. I've still never listened to a podcast episode from start to finish all the way through, not a single one. And she's like, what? Okay, well, all you need to do, Nate, is show up and look pretty. And I go, on a podcast. She goes, yes. And I go, I can do that. And I told her this morning before you even hopped on, she's like, I need to still finish combing my hair. And I was like, all right, well, at least you comb your hair to look pretty. I'm now at the level, Ryan and listeners, I put on cologne for this podcast. So I'm going to smell good for my guests and for my audience. So all of you just inhale through the nose and smell that. If it smells good wherever you are, that's me. If you don't smell good, it's not me. That's something else.
It's yourself.
Yeah, that's you. Sorry about that.
Dedication right there. I love it.
But no, yeah, I don't do any of the organization stuff. That's Sheila. But that's one of those huge things that has to deal with, like we talk about the messy back end. When we first started out, 115 episodes ago, we didn't have this down at all. It wasn't, oh, here's your script, here are your questions, this is when you're coming on, this is when it's going to be. No, it was a disaster. To quote one of my favorite movies, it was a cluster cuss. It was a disaster. I mean, it wasn't. It was just it was a messy back end, and we loved it. And you continue to grow and you develop and evolve. So,
my first episode I actually did with the podcast as well was a funny story. I was out with my friend Charlie, who was one of my guests, who was the first guest actually, and we're in a pub somewhere. We're in the town. We're having a few drinks, and we're chatting away. We're going about the podcast, coming up with ideas. You get a few drinks down your neck, and it's just like all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you could do this, you could do that. Great, this is a great idea. And he just went, why don't we just do it now? And I went, what? That's crazy talk. You need all this special gear, microphones. He went, nah, you got a phone on you. And I went, yeah. He goes, can you record on your phone? I went, yeah. I went, let's do it now. And I went, all right then. So there's us about 10 o'clock at night, a few drinks down our neck, we're a bit, we weren't like kind of legless or anything, but we're getting there. The shots were on the way, and we're sitting in the pub with the phone right in front of us, and then we just started recording. And that is basically my first episode, and it was one of my most popular episodes to date, which I'm a bit devastated on because I spent so much money on computers and microphones, and all I need was an iPhone. So if you're listening to this, guys, don't worry about all the expensive equipment. Get yourself a phone. It's all you need.
It's true. And that's the biggest thing too, is a lot of people think they have to have all of these millions of things. So my husband has this wild hair. He's going to start a business now because he's going to retire from the military in 2 years. So he's like, I want to start a business. I want to do team building. I want to have like team building events. So he's in the military. He teaches decision making. His brother teaches martial arts. Like he's like Mr. Dojo. I mean, like big guy teaches martial arts. Matter of fact, side story. He was doing a presentation once with a sword and came down with the sword and went right through his calf. He pulled it out and said, and that's how you do it, and walked off without even flinching before he started going, okay, time for the hospital. So he's going to be on.
That's a heroic move right there. It's like, what do you do? You have to act proper and hard as nails in front of everyone. Right. Everyone's probably going, my God, He-Man's on the stage.
Oh, blood everywhere. But anyway, so he comes, Vance comes to me and he says, well, I'm going to start this business. He says, will you help me? And I'm like, I'm semi-retired now. And I'm like, do you realize what you're asking me? He's like, yeah, we only have to do it one day a week for like 3 hours. It'll be awesome. I'm like, do you realize what you are asking me? Because he doesn't understand this. He doesn't understand the back end at all. He's like, yeah, it was just once a week. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You're asking me to go back full-time work so that you can work one day a week. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So I did a logo for him. It's going to be called Wild Coyote Team Building. And so I did a logo for him and he's like, what am I looking at? I said, logos, which one of these do you like? He's like, I don't know. What am I looking at? I'm like, oh my gosh. Then I showed him some color combinations just to get some ideas for colors for branding. And he's like, what am I looking at? I said, color combinations. Which one do you like? He's like, I don't know. What am I looking at? And I'm like, oh my gosh. This is going to be like, you go out in the field and I'll be sitting here doing marketing. But I flat out told him right at the beginning, I'm like, look, I'm willing to help you get set up and get you started. But we immediately have to hire someone because otherwise, I'm not in retirement anymore.
Well, let's make him listen to this podcast episode. Maybe that anonymous question that was at the beginning is actually Vance. Maybe he submitted that in. He's like, I'm ready to start a business, love. And you're like, oh, we got to delete the love. Make sure that they don't know it was Vance.
Well, you do get those creepers out there. So you never know. Anybody could say that these days. But
that was usually me, though.
I got my first troll. I remember on the podcast before with Sheila, we were chatting about trolls and all that sort of stuff online. I got my first troll a couple of weeks ago. I'm actually so happy about. I've hit the big time. I've hit the big time. I put a video out there, a little clip, giving all this and giving it, oh yeah, this is what you need to do in my podcast. And then someone commented underneath it and went, I didn't realize Johnny Sins' dad did podcasting now. And I went, oh yes, I love that. I thought that was a compliment. I text underneath it, talk the guy, everything he knows. Oh yeah, feed the trolls. There you go.
It's the truth. When you are getting trolled, when people are copying you, and when people are being just really mean and like trying to put you down and stop you from doing what you're doing, you have hit your stride. Stride harder. Time to grind, baby.
Oh God, here we go. Get involved now. This is go time, yo.
Sheila just turned into Gary Vee now. She's like, gotta grind, gotta hustle, do it, hustle, bro. Yeah, let's do
I didn't say bro.
Yeah, I know a little bit of less expletives than Gary Vee. To be fair, he's blinded everywhere.
I would love to have Gary Vee on the show, but I'm not sure that it would be a family show if I had Gary Vee on the show. But the fact is that what we want to do, right, is when someone wants to start a business like my husband, we have to really kind of sit them down and say, I love your idea. It's brilliant. And I've done this so many times with clients. And let's now get back to reality. And we see that this is what you want to accomplish, but what does it really look like? And how are you really going to accomplish it? And now, especially with the world we're in, marketing has changed. Yeah. You can't just put up a 13-step sales funnel, upsell. People are sick of the 45-minute videos to get to the end to find out that you're going to pay $69 for this thing or whatever it is. And then, you're on this page where all you see is a video and there's nothing underneath it. Nobody got time for that.
No.
You have to do things like podcasting and things like that. And like you already said, I mean, I would bet that more than this is my statistic, and 99% of statistics are made up. This is that like 50% of these people who are doing podcasting are doing them with their phones. I mean, I'm sitting here with a Mac and an iPhone headset. I do have fancy lighting, but I worked up to that, you know. Before I would just sit, when you and I did our interview, Ryan, I was sitting in front of a window.
Yeah, that's it.
So I had the lighting.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, people need to realize that we don't want to make you run the other direction. We want you to go start your business. We want you to be successful, but we want you to be realistic about it so that you don't get discouraged and quit. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of businesses fail, is that they just get these big ideas. They think they can do it. Then they find out, like you said, about the bookkeeping and the admin and the taxes and the contracts. And oh my goodness, I just had someone tell me they had to fire a subcontractor. I said that, who then went behind their back and started trashing them to everybody, their clients. I'm like, well, do you have a contract? Nope. No contract with their subcontractor. I'm like, so there's no guarantee for your clients that their information is safe. Yeah. And you can't stop them from stealing clients from you now. And I'm like, oh, so all the little things, but we do have a saying here at the Messy Back End, and it's, if it tires you out, hire it out. And it's just like what you said at the beginning, hire out the stuff that you don't need. Now, here's a little thing too that we talk about, is that you can do trades. And I think that this is the direction that a lot of things are going, right? It's kind of like using Bitcoin. It's fake. So you trade something. So I might do something for Nate in trade for him to do something for me. And we each use our skills to help support each other. And so that's when you get this co-op thing going,
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And it's all about kind of also going to touch on a few bits and pieces from there. It is not to be scared to pivot, and not to be scared. Don't be too close-minded. Stop looking down like the corridor. There's other things, options you can actually do. Don't focus on one thing. Say, my business needs to go in this direction. Things change. You might find a little bit doing it, and be open to new ideas and new things to get involved in it. Don't just be focused on one sort of thing. And that was obviously one of my many issues when I started my business up. Obviously, my first one. That's obviously my first business is now gone, and thank God it has. But I've got my second one.
Businesses are gone. It's like when you go to college. You go to college. I'm going to be a doctor, and by the time you leave, you're a secretary.
You're a YouTuber.
A YouTuber, a podcaster. Like,
yeah.
It may not end where you think you're going at the beginning. I think I've had 6 brands. And what's really funny is someone came up to me once and said, "You're changing your brand again, blah, 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 troll. 2 weeks later, guess what she did?
Changed her brand.
I said, don't be scared to pivot. Do not be scared to pivot and say something different, because your market could literally dry up within days. Look what happened last year. The amount of businesses that dried up because of the COVID situation and people working from home. Everything like real estate, near enough died on that sort of thing, especially commercial real estate, non-existent anymore. It's like in the UK anyway. I don't know what it's like over in the US, but the UK is dead, and it's dead as a dodo right now. So it's you got to have to be able to understand that is your business pivotable? Can it do that? Can you actually do that, or is it just designed for one specific reason? And if it isn't, you kind of have to kind of mix that up a bit to make sure you can do it when needs to.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any books or blogs or places that you go for trusted resources? So I have my Women's Network, Yes Women's Network, where we really like to say, if you need a trusted resource, come here. Instead of just doing a Google search, go, is there somewhere that you recommend for people to go look for, besides our podcast and your podcast?
Yeah, of course. Do you know what? One of the main things that I like to is mentorship and joining a sort of like a group sort of yourself. That's what I did. Speaking to people who are in the same boat as yourself. You can find them wherever. There's a lot of groups out there that can actually do it on Facebook, but there's actually a lot of offline groups running about your area. In the UK right now, they have something which is building a lot of popularity due to people starting their own business with the COVID. You can get kind of Zoom meetings like this, like now, with people who are doing exactly the same thing as yourself. And I'm a big fan of learning by doing, but when you learn by doing and then somebody else is doing the same level as you sort of thing, you climb together, and you could change ideas. You can say, oh, that idea could be really good for what I'm doing. How did you do that? And you just bash off ideas off each other, and you get a really good kind of, you learn of different things. So I like doing mentorship in groups like that. That's the main thing that I used to, well, I still do now. I've got one of my mentors is she's one of my good friends now. And she kind of teaches me, because I keep taking the mick now by saying that the Padawan has now become the master, and she gets upset about it. She goes, no, I'm not. You're not better than me. I'm better than you now. You taught me too well. You taught me too well. I'm gonna have you.
Yeah, every leader should want the people that they teach and train to become better than them. I mean, I am so proud of the girls, the VAs who I have trained, who have become better than me. I'm just so proud. That's it.
And it's a bit more, it's a bit more fulfilling. You want them to exceed, you want them to be better than you. That's the main thing about teaching, sort of thing. But yeah, so as I say, it's got to be like groups. Join a group. People that are even if you've got friends. I mean, one of my good friends has started, he's exactly the same business as me in recruitment and side of stuff, but he's more in a different sector. We do it all the time. We sit there and go and jump on calls every other day, and we bash out some ideas. And when everything starts opening up, I go to his office. I mean, I'm working from home, but he's doing a lot better than me right now because he's got an office. So I'm not jealous. I will get one eventually. And so I go to his office, and we just sit there and go through it all, and just come up with ideas. And it's motivating, because when you're working with someone who's going through the same thing that you're going through, you can understand that it's not just you that's going through all this rubbish that's happening and difficulties. Somebody else is going through it, and it makes you feel a bit better. And you're like, okay, that's realization's hit. Now I can carry on and hit it.
I think you're absolutely right with that. I have several friends that are kind of in different spots in their businesses, but it's a similar type of business. They've gone through some of the same things. I go through things. So sometimes we're just, even if it's just, I see something that they're doing on like their Snapchat story, and I'm like, hey, what do you do about this, this, and this? And they're like, oh, I don't do it that way. And I'm like, why not? And they're like, I don't know. You know what I mean? But we're just like helping each other out. And then they'll call me out on things, and they're like, Nate, you're not using this program. Why aren't you? And I was like, wait, I didn't know that it existed. Like, please share, tell me more. And, mentorship is a huge thing. So yeah, I think to kind of sum it up, like we talked about a few different things about, to answer the question of like, what do I need to know before starting my own company? I think we kind of broke it down to, have kind of an understanding of where you're wanting to go, but understand that you need a pivot, that you can't just be locked in doing the one thing the whole time. But I think a big thing that we all can kind of agree on is that we need mentorship. We need to be able to go and adapt and, work with other people and try to figure out how to make ourselves better, and just be okay with not being perfect from the get-go. Like your first episode was on a phone, and it's fantastic. I love that. I'll go listen to part of it. Not the whole thing, because I don't listen to entire
That's such
episodes.
a backhanded compliment as well.
It is. You should take that as a compliment. I will go listen to part of it.
He hasn't even listened to part of ours, so that is a huge compliment. Yeah, he's like, why do I have to listen to it? I was there.
Yeah, I've never listened to any of ours.
That's it. Everyone keeps saying that to me as well, is that if you listen to any of your shows, no, I was there. I know what happened. I don't need to rewatch it.
Right. I was there for the conversation. I'm in it. This guy walked up to me the other day. I was at a bar, and he's performing. He was the guitarist, and comes up to me between his sets, and he goes, "Hey, I was listening to your podcast the other day, and I love it." And I was like, "Wait, what? How'd you even?" He's like, "I don't know. I Googled you, and I found you on a podcast, and I really love it." And he goes, "And like, I just love how sassy you are." And all my friends are like, that's the word to describe Nate, is sassy. And I was like, I guess I'm portrayed as sassy on our podcast, but I don't even know, because I never even listened to any of them. But I've felt flattered. So
that's really flattering, because we actually have had this huge uptick. Like about a month ago, all of a sudden, like we hit the stride. And now, when you hit the stride, when you start getting spam from people, I found your podcast and blah, blah, blah. Then, and the numbers just, how much did they go up? Like 800% or something. And they all of a sudden they just did this huge jump. And so we're not complaining. We like it. We love our listeners.
That's what I've done as well. We've been doing, well, for mine as well, took a massive jump. But I'm kind of I'm with my show. It's obviously all about people's stories and what they're up to and all that sort of stuff. But I'm starting to kind of pivot mine a little bit more and go a little bit more of the entertainment route because it's more fun. You know, I understand that the thing about podcasts is if it's entertaining and educational, you've got the ideal podcast platform. You know, that's what they always say. But I like to go down the entertainment route. You know, some of the shows and some of the people I've had on the show it's quite hard hitting. You know, I've had some really kind of interesting stories and you're like, wow. And so I've had feedback saying, we come on you because you're entertaining, Ryan. You know, we want to hear you and the rest of your guests entertaining and having a laugh and having a joke. And you can't really do that when you hear somebody's like had some bad news and stuff. And you're like, oh, it's about.
Oh, I know, right? Some people are definitely, I don't want to use the word boring, but a lot less exciting is a good way of putting it. A lot less entertaining, to use the entertainment word.
Yeah.
But
let's just say boring. It's boring.
Yeah. No, Ryan, you've been super entertaining, super knowledgeable. I love what you've brought onto our show, and you've been definitely an asset that we've had you on. So I want to thank you for being on here. If people who are listening, if they have gotten this far, if they're not like me and they actually listen to the full podcast, and they'd love to hear more of you, Ryan, what's the best way they can go and find you?
It's the Walk the Line podcast. It's available on all major platforms out there, wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you want to get in touch with us, send us an email or go through the Facebook. I've just started a Facebook group, guys. How good is that? A community.
Let us in. We're not in there yet.
Get in there. I'll send you guys an invite. It's all about just kind of talking and it's basically just chatting crap and just me putting stupid memes up right now. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to work it. I'm getting there. Not an expert just yet, but I'll get there eventually. So yeah, jump on the Facebook page, jump in the group, have a chat, get to know me. We'll have some fun, listen to the show, and earn me some money.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. You're the man. It's such a blast having you.
Thanks, guys. It's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Ryan.
Take care.
Into today's episode of The Messy Backend. We know you can't get enough of us. So have us on your podcast or have us speak at your next event. Visit themessybackend.com/speaking and send us your event details.
It's true. We love speaking. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Yes Women's Network, where you will find the connections you need to achieve your dreams. Find out more at yeswomensnetwork.com.
Also, our advertiser, PodServe FM. We couldn't do it without them. They get your podcast hosted and published quickly and easily. Visit them at podserve.fm/messy to find out more.
And a thank you to our advertiser, ThriveCart. They are the #1 shopping cart software that grows your income from existing traffic with high converting checkout pages, upsells, and affiliate campaigns. Watch the video for how simple this cart solution is at themessybackend.com/cart.
Once again, don't miss an episode. Head on over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe today.
I'm just looking at your page right now, and there's that you put on here about Elmo, and there's fruit, and then there's something else. And that's my kind of humor, Ryan, and that's not Sheila's humor. So, just FYI, I already reacted to that because, yes, that's my kind of humor.
There you go.
So, yeah.